and welcome back to a gardening episode here on the Nerdy Suburban Farmer. I am outside and it is planting day for my tomatoes and peppers. I'm really trying to stay organized, so I have a grid of where everything should go in the garden this season. Now in this container, I have my mixture of worm castings, fertilizer, Epsom salt, and just a little rabone meal for the plants. The tool that I'm holding is a sprayer that my husband purchased for the cars, but it does have a gentler setting for plants. After surgery on my shoulder, it didn't seem feasible to try to carry water buckets all over the garden, so I'm going to try this out with planting. So let's get to what I do for my tomatoes and peppers. They're basically the same with one small difference. So here I'm planting the peppers. I take about a third of a scoop of the mixture of the fertilizer and castings and mix it up in the bottom of the digging or planting hole. I don't plant the peppers too deep, just about as far as how they are planted in their cups. And then I set the plant gently in there. Now if the plants had been root bound or more root bound, I would have teased apart the roots. But with these plantings, since they were in such larger cups, I think these are 6-inch cups, since they're in larger cups, the roots had a lot of more room to grow. So I didn't have to do much to tease out the root, but I just move the dirt back in once I place the plant. And then after I have had all the plants placed where I want them to go, I then come back and hit them with a little bit of liquid fertilizer. Now with these peppers, I do plant 2 peppers to 1 planting hole. That's how I grow it. So there's actually 6 peppers in here. I did this last year, I do this in all my previous years, and I don't really have an issue with that. So in this bed, which is a 3x6 bed, I'm going to put 12 plantings in, which is really 24 peppers, but I'm going to do 12 plantings in total. Since I had some problems with the plants that I didn't get to plant them all. I planted about 11 and I have room for 1 more in here, but it's basically the same process for every planting hole for the peppers that I do, and I'm going to be planting about 26 peppers in total. Now for the tomatoes, the initial process is exactly the same, except I dig a trench for the tomatoes, or at least that's what I'm going to do this year. I'm going to dig a trench and put a trellis up above the tomatoes and point the root ball away from the trellis. That way the tomatoes can vine up the trellis without having any competition right underneath the trellis for the root ball. So the root is actually facing towards the edge of the planting bed instead of directly underneath. But it does get the same fertilizer mix that I put in, and I put the tomatoes down much deeper. So to show again, I dig kind of a rectangle box shape pretty far down into the soil for the tomato plant, and I plant it laying down but angling the top leaves above the ground. Once I do that, I fill the dirt in so that the dirt can support the leaves that are sticking up from the ground. I do take away the last few leaves just because I don't want these to be underneath the ground rotting away. But you could do this with tomatoes because everywhere that touches the soil with the tomato vine is going to end up doing roots. So I'm just trying to gently curve it. You don't want to force it. You really do want to work with the tomato itself. But I'm gently curving it so that majority of it is bent underground deeper than the top, and then patting it in. and my hope is that doing it this way, like I said, there's not much competition in the root balls as they are facing away from each other. And I have another 8, and with the tomatoes I'm going to have a total of 34. But this is the first wave of tomatoes that I did. And just like with the peppers, once I was finished planting, I gave them a hit of fertilizer. Before I end this video, I wanted to give a quick update as well on the lilies that are up front. So at the end of last season, I took all the bulbs, divided them up, and then in the 25-gallon grow bags, I did levels where the larger bulbs went at the bottom, then medium, then the next ones. And there's like 3 different levels of planting. And this is what they look like right now. I have some lilies where the stalks are literally about an inch around. No bulbs yet, but they are doing phenomenally. So I know I have to come up with a plan for next year for what to do. But all of them are looking good. If you'd like to see what the lilies looked like last year, click on the link in the corner of the screen. Thank you as always for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the content.